There are a few potential issues with the setup that has been described. Firstly, insufficient grounding may exist. The single ground rod may not provide adequate grounding for the electrical system, especially during high current situations. It is recommended to install a minimum of 2 grounding rods spaced at least 6 feet apart. Secondly, the neutral ground connection in the meter socket may be improper. Connecting the ground wire to the neutral lug in the meter socket is not a proper grounding method. The neutral and ground should be kept separate to ensure proper circuit operation and safety. Thirdly, the tap-off connections may not be compliant. Using split bolts to tap off the grounding conductors is not an approved method. Proper grounding connections should be made using listed grounding clamps or connectors. Fourthly, running conductors outside panels can create problems. Running the grounding conductors outside the panels can expose them to the elements and potential damage. It is recommended to install a grounding bar inside the panels and run the grounding conductors through conduit. The recommended solution would be to install 2 8-foot ground rods spaced at least 6 feet apart. Connect the grounding conductors to a grounding bar inside the main distribution panel. Run the grounding conductors to each subpanel through conduit and connect them to the grounding bars inside the subpanels. Remove the ground wire connection from the neutral lug in the meter socket. Use listed grounding clamps or connectors to make all grounding connections. To elaborate on the grounding system requirements, it is essential to understand the role of grounding in electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, which allows overcurrent protective devices such as circuit breakers to quickly trip and clear the fault. A properly installed grounding system minimizes the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage. When installing grounding rods, the National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies requirements for their size, material, and installation depth. Typically, grounding rods are made of copper or copper-clad steel and must be at least 8 feet long. They should be driven into the ground so that at least 8 feet of the rod is in contact with the soil. The spacing between grounding rods is also critical. The NEC recommends a minimum spacing of 6 feet to ensure that the rods are in different zones of earth resistance. This helps to reduce the overall impedance of the grounding system. Connecting the grounding conductors to the grounding rods requires the use of listed grounding clamps or connectors. These connectors are designed to provide a secure and reliable connection that will not corrode or loosen over time. Split bolt connectors are not approved for grounding connections because they do not provide a reliable, low impedance path for fault current. When connecting the grounding conductors to the grounding bars inside the electrical panels, it is important to ensure that the grounding bars are properly bonded to the metal enclosure of the panel. This ensures that the entire panel is at the same ground potential, which further reduces the risk of electrical shock. Running the grounding conductors through conduit provides physical protection against damage and corrosion. Conduit also helps to keep the grounding conductors separate from other conductors, which can reduce the risk of interference. The size of the grounding conductors must be adequate to carry the maximum fault current that could occur in the electrical system. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum size of grounding conductors based on the size of the service entrance conductors. In general, the grounding conductor should be at least as large as the largest ungrounded conductor in the circuit. Removing the ground wire connection from the neutral lug in the meter socket is essential for maintaining a proper neutral ground separation. The neutral conductor is the return path for normal circuit current, while the ground conductor is the path for fault current. Connecting the neutral and ground conductors together at the meter socket can create a parallel path for normal circuit current to flow through the ground conductor, which can cause nuisance tripping of circuit breakers and increase the risk of electrical shock. In addition to the grounding rod system, it is also important to bond the metal water pipe to the grounding system. This helps to ensure that the water pipe is at the same ground potential as the electrical system, which further reduces the risk of electrical shock. The bonding conductor should be sized according to the NEC and should be connected to the water pipe with a listed bonding clamp. It is important to note that the grounding system should be inspected and tested regularly to ensure that it is functioning properly. The NEC recommends that the grounding system be tested at least once a year by a qualified electrician. The test should include a visual inspection of the grounding conductors and connections, as well as a measurement of the ground resistance. If the ground resistance is too high, it may be necessary to add additional grounding rods or improve the connections to the existing grounding rods. In summary, a properly installed and maintained grounding system is essential for electrical safety. It provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, which allows overcurrent protected devices to quickly trip and clear the fault. A properly grounded electrical system minimizes the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage. Always follow the NEC and local electrical codes when installing or modifying a grounding system. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety. Furthermore, consider the specific details of the electrical installation, such as the size of the service entrance conductors, the type of soil, and the presence of other underground utilities. These factors can affect the design and installation of the grounding system. For example, if the soil is very dry or rocky, it may be necessary to use longer grounding rods or install a ground-enhancing compound to improve the conductivity of the soil. If there are other underground utilities in the area, it is important to locate them before driving grounding rods to avoid damaging them. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding and bonding in Article 250. This article covers a wide range of topics, including grounding electrode systems, grounding conductors, equipment grounding, and bonding of metal enclosures. It is essential to be familiar with Article 250 when designing and installing a grounding system. In addition to the NEC, local electrical codes may also have specific requirements for grounding. It is important to check with the local electrical inspector to ensure that the grounding system complies with all applicable codes. When installing a grounding system, it is important to use high-quality materials and follow the manufacturer's instructions. This will help to ensure that the grounding system is reliable and will provide adequate protection for many years to come. It is also important to keep accurate records of the grounding system installation, including the location of the grounding rods, the size of the grounding conductors, and the type of grounding connectors used. This information can be helpful for future inspections and maintenance. Regular maintenance of the grounding system is essential for ensuring its continued effectiveness. This includes visual inspections of the grounding conductors and connections, as well as periodic testing of the ground resistance. Any damaged or corroded component should be replaced immediately. If the ground resistance is found to be too high, additional grounding rods may need to be installed or the existing grounding connections may need to be improved. By following these guidelines, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is properly grounded and that you and your family are protected from electrical shock. Remember that electricity can be dangerous, and it is always best to err on the side of caution when dealing with electrical systems. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. They have the training, experience, and equipment necessary to safely and effectively install and maintain electrical systems. Also, consider the impact of future changes to the electrical system on the grounding system. For example, if you add a new subpole or a large appliance, you may need to upgrade the grounding system to ensure that it is still adequate to protect the expanded electrical system. It is also important to consider the impact of environmental factors on the grounding system. For example, if the area is subject to flooding or extreme temperatures, the grounding system may need to be designed to withstand these conditions. In addition to the technical aspects of grounding, it is also important to educate yourself and others about electrical safety. This includes teaching children about the dangers of electricity and how to avoid electrical hazards. It also includes ensuring that all electrical appliances and equipment are properly maintained and used according to the manufacturer's instructions. By taking these steps, you can help to create a safer environment for yourself, your family, and your community. Finally, remember that electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving. It is important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the NEC and other applicable codes to ensure that your electrical system is always in compliance. You can do this by attending continuing education courses, reading industry publications, and consulting with qualified electricians and electrical inspectors. This ongoing learning will help you to stay informed about the best practices for electrical safety and to ensure that your electrical system is always up to code. Also, consider the specific characteristics of the soil in your area when selecting grounding rods. Different types of soil have different levels of conductivity, which can affect the effectiveness of the grounding system. For example, sandy soil is typically less conductive than clay soil. If you have sandy soil, you may need to use longer grounding rods or install a ground-enhancing compound to improve the conductivity of the soil. It is also important to consider the potential for corrosion of the grounding rods and conductors. In some areas, the soil may be corrosive due to the presence of salts or other chemicals. If you live in an area with corrosive soil, you should use grounding rods and conductors that are made of corrosion-resistant materials, such as copper-clad steel. In addition to the grounding rods, it is also important to bond any metal enclosures that contain electrical equipment to the grounding system. This includes metal junction boxes, metal conduit, and metal appliance housings. Bonding these enclosures to the grounding system helps to ensure that they are at the same ground potential as the electrical system, which reduces the risk of electrical shock. The bonding conductors should be sized according to the NEC and should be connected to the metal enclosures with listed bonding connectors. It is also important to ensure that the bonding connections are clean and tight to provide a low impedance path for fault current. Regular inspections of the bonding connections are important to ensure that they are still in good condition and that they have not corroded or loosened over time. If any damaged or corroded bonding connections are found, they should be replaced immediately. Also, remember to consider the impact of future landscaping or construction projects on the grounding system. If you plan to install a swimming pool, build a deck, or make any other changes to your property, you should consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the grounding system is still adequate and that it complies with all applicable codes. It is also important to protect the grounding rods from physical damage. Grounding rods that are located in areas where they could be struck by vehicles or other equipment should be protected with a concrete or metal barrier. This will help to prevent the grounding rods from being bent or broken, which could compromise the effectiveness of the grounding system. In addition to the requirements of the NEC and local electrical codes, there are also a number of industry best practices that can help to improve the safety and reliability of electrical systems. These best practices include using high-quality electrical components, following proper wiring techniques, and performing regular inspections and maintenance. By following these best practices, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable for many years to come. And do not forget, working with electricity can be dangerous. Always take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as rubber gloves and safety glasses, to energize circuits before working on them. And never work on electrical equipment when you are wet or standing in water. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you.